Well, here we go. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on what time of the day you're watching this. We have Janette here as well, and we have the fabulous Fionnaula from Plas. And today, Fionnaula, we're all talking weddings. We had a post up and we asked people for questions that they wanted us to ask you. So I have a list of questions here that florists in our Bloom studio that are doing weddings and students have asked about weddings. So this talk is all about weddings, and we're going to pick your brains, Fionnaula. We're going to pick them. Thanks so much for joining us. Okay, first of all, tell us
no pressure.
Tell us a little bit about Plas, first of all, because and I know I say this every time you come into the Bloom rooms, but Plas are so lucky to have somebody like you, because not only are you a flower rep for Plas, but you're also a florist. You've ran your own flower business. You have done amazing weddings. You have had a very successful wedding business as well. So I think you have a huge advantage over lots of other reps. So tell us why Plas for you, and how does Plas work?
So I love my job now. I'll start with that. I wouldn't change it now for the world. I guess I love working for them because I get to help so many people. And that could be as simple as, oh, what rose will I use for this? You know, or what flower will work for that? Or how do I create that? Sure. I love to share my knowledge. Plas.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that is such an advantage, you know, like where I'm just using Frank in Hook Flowers as an example, you know, that way. And you had a wedding and you were looking for a substitute flower or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah, he'll suggest something, but it mightn't necessarily always be the right alternative flower to use, where obviously you have that experience behind you. So it's a florist advising another florist, you know, that way. So it's a brilliant opportunity, brilliant advantage for any florist that's ordering her flowers from you.
Thanks. It's always good to hear that. I hope my knowledge is good. But I do try my best. So Plas is one of the biggest exporters out of Holland. We deliver to all over Europe. Ireland is a small proportion of that. And we export 5 days a week. That means you can get your flowers every day, Tuesday night to Sunday. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We have a huge variety on our web shop: sundries, flowers, plants, dried flowers. Dried flowers seem to be huge at the moment, especially for weddings. And a mix of dried and fresh together as well.
Yeah, and tell me, because Plas is very different to other wholesalers, you don't actually hold flowers as such. Just explain how that works.
So on our web shop, you have 2 ways of buying. One is a direct route to grower, and the other one is a direct route to our buyers. So our buyers start in the morning at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, depending on the day of the week. They come in, they shut off the website, and they take down what they need to buy for that day. There's spare quantities will go back up on the web shop. So everything, when you order, so say you order tonight for tomorrow, you'll go in, you pick 20 roses for red Naomi roses from Porto Nova, and it's a buyer, you'll see on it like they have available 8 by 20. You press 1 by 20 and you take that 20. That Porto Nova will then ship that rose to our warehouse tomorrow morning, along with every other customer, and then it'll be packed in your boxes and away it goes. If you bought it from grower, so you say the grower price will be there, it'll be dictated on yesterday's price at auction. And the buyer goes to buy it, they'll be buying the best quality rose available on the market that morning for that price.
Okay. Right.
I didn't know that. That's brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant to know.
So then once the flowers are bought, then there still is a little bit of time left. So most of the flowers are bought by 6 o'clock in the morning. So there'd be a little bit of time. So between 6 and 10 or 9, 6 and 9 here, you can still buy flowers from that day, and they'd be the leftovers of what's in the buckets that have come from auction.
Okay, right. So your advice then for anybody ordering for, we say, a Wednesday night dispatch, that I know 9 o'clock in the morning is your cut-off time, but what do you think, what time do you recommend people go on to order their flowers for the nighttime dispatch?
So you want to go on the night before, the evening before, and
Okay.
do your flower order. And that's
so
really,
if I'm looking for a Wednesday night dispatch, I should be going on Tuesday night and ordering my flowers. And then flowers, oh God, big magpie outside. And those flowers will come to me then Thursday night. Is that right?
yeah, Thursday night,
Friday morning. Thursday night, Friday morning. Okay, so that's really good to know. Just as regards wedding flowers, so if there's a wedding on a Saturday, when is the best time for them to order their flowers in for that Saturday wedding?
It depends on the flower. So if they're good, strong stems and like so roses, hydrangeas, ranunculus, all those things you want to open. So I would be ordering them on Sunday night for departure on Monday, get them Tuesday night, have them drinking water for a day, and then start working with them the following day.
Yeah. Super, great. And tell me, when you mentioned roses there, what is your go-to white rose for weddings?
The white
in your
is not
opinion.
white.
Like, I get asked this question all the time.
Yeah.
There's like, unless you really want to go for a garden rose and pay a lot of money, there isn't really a white rose.
Yeah.
Like, so stop selling them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like that's the reality of it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I even the garden roses, they're always a slightly cream color. Like, it's not, there's always a tint of it's not the way nature intended.
No.
You know, and it depends on the light.
And it depends, absolutely. So back to then, what rose would you, if a bride comes in and she wants a white wedding bouquet, or she wants white roses, even if they're off white, what's your go-to rose?
A keto, probably, for if somebody is really insisting on a white. Yeah.
And tell me, what's, just talking about roses, and this was a question that came up about reflexing, and reflexing doesn't work on every rose. So tell me, what rose would you, because reflexing is the big trend at the moment, what roses would you recommend that reflex the best?
I like reflexing the mondials, but it has to be about 10 to 12 days old.
Okay.
And conditioned really well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the key, because I know, like, a lot of people saying, oh, I've tried to reflex it and the petals keep breaking, but they're too fresh. They're need to fresh. Be, I actually wouldn't have said 10 days old now. I would have probably said 5 days old, but I didn't even think that it would last 10 days in Mondial rose. Oh
yeah, like you should get 2 weeks out of them, but they need to be as open as you can possibly get them, like before they will in any way reflex. Otherwise, the reflex is going to hold. And the other little trick is to use a tiny little dab of cold glue to hold the reflex.
To keep it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, let me think. Great tip. Okay, you've answered this one already. I'm just going through because, as I said, we had a list of questions. What's the best day to order for a Saturday wedding? You said Sunday night for Monday night dispatch to come to you on Tuesday. What's the minimum amount of flowers that you can order, and how much is the delivery or transport or whatever? So if they're ordering from Plas, what is the minimum that they can order?
The minimum is €170. It's €35 delivery. I don't think that is a viable amount of money for really most weddings.
Yeah.
And really anything under that, you need to be going to your local wholesaler.
Yeah.
There is local wholesalers out there.
Yeah.
Even the €170, like, you really need to be looking at 200 to 220 to ensure that the boxes are full.
Yeah. Because otherwise there's a risk of them getting damaged. Yeah.
Exactly. don't want them rolling around in the box. You want the boxes full.
Yeah, it is true. And like the thing is, like €170 is not a huge amount of money for wedding flowers. You know, like you multiply that by 4 even, you know, like at a minimum, that's only an €800 wedding. You know, like it's small.
Yeah, it's not what you want to be looking at doing.
Yeah.
If
and I know you have said before that sometimes that extra, instead of paying the delivery, it's under 300, over 300, it's free delivery. There's no transport on over 300. Isn't that what you told me before? Yeah. So sometimes bringing it up to the 300 is actually, instead of putting, as you say, the transport money, you're actually only buying sort of 70 or 80 euros worth more stems. And sometimes, as you say, if you have them there, you need to make you sell them.
Yeah, it encourages you to sell them, and it encourages you the next time to know that actually, okay, I need to have a minimum of €1,500 or €1,200, whatever you decide
for your weddings.
minimum.
Yeah.
But to justify me doing this. Otherwise, if you're doing a wedding for any less than that, and you have to drop, if it's under €170, you're driving to a wholesaler. How much is that costing you in both petrol and time? You know, so you need to think about what you're doing.
Yeah, it is, and we say this all the time to the florists as well. If you do small weddings, you're going to get small weddings. If you do big weddings, you're going to get big weddings.
Yeah,
you know. If we say it is a small wedding, €1,000 wedding or whatever, less of a wedding, and what would you recommend being the minimum amount of varieties of flowers, you know, for bouquets and stuff? What minimum varieties?
I think that really depends on your style. But on average, I think you really need to have 5 flowers in an average wedding, in varieties of different flowers. Or if it's a wild flower look, you need more. You probably need 7, 8, or 9 stems.
Yeah.
You know, the same goes for that gathered and garden look. You probably need more different stems.
Yeah, because it's all about the textures, really, isn't it? Particularly for those type of styles.
Yeah. And I'm a complete lover of filler. You know, filler is so good for showing off beautiful blooms, and the more texture you have within a bouquet, the more those the bigger blooms like the roses and all will stand out.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's my personal choice, you know.
Yeah.
Not everybody
it
likes
is, and it is, and everybody has their style and whatever. But again, it's back to, because people are buying from you, or from Plas through you, and they're also getting your expertise and advice. So, which is amazing. I think it's amazing anyway. Okay, you said something there, and I was like, that was part of the question. Oh yes. So back to, they're looking for 5 varieties, but maybe they don't need 25 stems of gyp, or maybe they don't need 50 stems of wax flower, or whatever the case may be. Can they buy flowers in smaller quantities when they're trying to create that style?
The fillers tend to be in larger quantities, but there's definitely like gerbas you can buy in 15s now. You know, the ranunculuses you can buy in 30s.
Is freesia still 50s?
I can't. No, I think I'm nearly sure I've seen a lower. I think they may come in 30s as well.
Okay.
I'd have to really look now for that.
Yeah. So again, if back to somebody is placing an order, or they're just deciding or pricing up a wedding, is to get in contact with you to say, well, what is the minimum amount of stems I can buy in, be it wax flower? You can advise them obviously on that.
Yeah, of course I can.
That comes into play really when they're pricing.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. Or just jump on the web shop. Like the the quantities are always on the right hand side of the picture.
Okay.
You know, it's real easy to find. It's always there.
Yeah.
But you know, like again, that comes down to, surely if you put a filler in a bridal bouquet, you'll put it throughout the wedding. So that's why they're sold in 25s.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
So
thinking.
it's about your recipe writing and your thinking. And again, that comes back to, how much do I really want the minimum? How much do I need to charge for the smallest wedding I want to do?
Yes. Yeah. And that is key. And I know for a lot of florists, like we say, for our students starting off, the tendency is obviously there to do the smaller weddings first to get the experience and to build it up. But really is, once you have that little bit of confidence, is really start to then push yourself out there and look at your quantities and look at your prices and look at and make a decision early rather than late that this is the style of wedding or this is the price of wedding that you want to be doing. You know,
work backwards. Use your imagination. Start with your smallest wedding that you envision doing and go and price it and see how much it would cost you to do that. And then you equate, okay, well, I can sell this wedding then for X, and that's the smallest wedding I can afford to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good advice. Very good advice.
Yeah,
quoting for weddings, like doing quotes and doing estimates, and how far in advance do you recommend with pricing? Or is that like, how long is a piece of string?
Every business is different. Across the board, everybody has made very different decisions on this. There is some florists out there pricing for 24 and 25, and there's some people out there that won't give a quote for next month. You know, it's all about what you're comfortable with. I wouldn't have a problem quoting a wedding. Me personally, I wouldn't have a problem quoting a wedding for 24 right now. But I'm a gambler. I also think that in reality and looking at the industry as a whole, I think we hit our peak in pricing last year. I can't envision them going higher than that. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were around last year, you should have a very good benchmark of what your pricing should look like. So it's only going to make you more profitable.
Exactly. Yeah. And as last year, as in 2022, that's when they really, like, they went off the absolute wall.
Off the wall. And you know, that's actually, like, because people have asked me about pricing weddings, and I'm saying, oh God, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm terrified, like, you know what I mean? Don't price 6 months, more than 6 months in advance. I've been telling people, but I'm actually have to learn. That's actually a great tip there, Fionnuala. They were at their feckin' highest last year. They're probably not going to go much more than that, you know, that way.
To be honest, like, it's not, it's the way the industry works. Like, we have to remember, flowers are sold like any other commodity. You know, they're sold at auction. So it's all about demand. And, you know, when you put out, like, a prime example for this for me is if we look at last Valentine's Day, Drift Naomi roses were, I think, 9 something.
Yeah.
Like, are we for real? Like, what kind of, sorry, who can afford 30 or 40 euro a stem for one single red rose? Like, sorry, nobody. Like, and if they can, they need to go and give that money to somebody that doesn't have money, because like, no, seriously, like, that's it blows my mind. But that's just fact. Like, so I do think we absolutely peaked last year. So I do think that we are definitely seeing a stabilization. I think Brexit had some impact on that. I think flower buying in England is slightly down. We're very attached to the UK market in terms of flower pricing. So all of the exporters kind of pump Ireland and England in together. You know, all their sales people are, you know, they're the teams. It's Ireland and the UK. It's not Ireland and the UK. You know, so and most of the flowers come through England. So they now don't stop in England because they can't open the doors, but most of them drive across England.
Yeah.
So, you know, I do think that we are on the brighter days of flower pricing again.
Yes. Oh, well, that's good news.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Delighted to hear that.
You know, like it's Mother's Day on the 12th of May in America and or in Europe. So you should have that's a good indication in what's going on across Europe.
Yeah.
Watch the flower prices that week.
Yeah. Yeah, true. If a flower's out of season, Fionnuala, but a bride really wants it, is it possible for them to pre-order it from you, or could they get it grown if they had enough notice, or is there flowers that you absolutely cannot get out of season?
There is a couple of flowers that you can't get out of season, but actually it's more about viability of flowers out of season.
Yeah.
If you want a peony in the autumn, it has to come from New Zealand. Yeah.
And chances are the quality is going to be shite.
Yeah.
You know, that obviously it's going to have to travel from all that distance as well. But yeah, so really, I suppose, and like for the person that did ask that question, is you really need to educate your bride, like that it's not viable.
Yeah, like and like it's really important that we retain some kind of seasonality with our flowers.
Yeah.
You know, and especially within our work, like putting peonies in a it might be a beautiful wedding with lots of lovely peonies, but it's going to cost you a lot of money to put together, and it's completely out of season, so it's not gonna look right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, true. I'm actually seeing them coming back in now. Actually, Fionnuala has an amazing blog over on her LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn, go over and follow Fionnuala on Fionnuala Macaulay on LinkedIn. She has an amazing blog on peonies up there at the moment, and anything you need to know about peonies is up there. Actually, we have a couple of obviously videos on our conditioning videos on peonies, and at this time of the year, that page on our website goes off the wall. How to get my peonies opened fast. That's the thing, and it literally goes. It gets so many hits. And the other one is the hydrangea one. So that's another blog you should do, Fionnuala. It's about hydrangeas. Is how to stop hydrangeas from wilting, basically. And that's the two most hit pages on our website are those two blogs. With eucalyptus out season, what do you, in the summertime or, you know, between, I suppose, April and May on, what do you recommend as an alternative to it?
Ruscus, soft ruscus, hard ruscus, hops, pistache for the bouquets.
Yeah,
there's plenty of them out there.
There is
lamb's ear. What's it called?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, the one. Yeah, the silver one.
I love it. I can't just the name of it. You know, there's loads of foliages available. You just have to think and work with what's available.
Yeah, what's available. So we say though, for the likes of arches and installations, obviously buying in pistache or buying in ruscus would be very expensive for something like that. What would you recommend? Hops, yeah. I know laurel as well. It can be a bit chunky, but like it's a good base to use, and then add.
Definitely, if you have a good base of laurel and then bring out like a small bit of a grey foliage, like that lamb's ear, like 10 stems in an arch on one side, it'll completely change the look of it.
Yeah.
Do you know, tilapia as well, it's good to kind of make it make a very dense base a little bit more wispy.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Use your fillers as well. You know,
Yeah.
Over fillers, like.
Yeah.
I bet you'll find that that's the reason why these gyp arches are so predominant at the moment. It was the only thing somebody could think of.
Yeah.
Loads of gyp. It was really cheap at the time.
Talking about gyp, the smell of it, what do you recommend? Or does all gyp smell? Do all varieties smell is really what I should say.
Well, somebody told me now, and I don't, it's a good question here, that from certain growers, is that true, or certain varieties doesn't smell? Or is it certain times of the year?
I bet you it's certain times of the year. I can't actually tell. My fire alarm is going off for some reason.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, it stopped. Interesting. Jared's out there, so he'll figure it out. If I need to get out, he'll tell me.
He'll call you.
So gyp. I will go to a couple of growers and I'll ask them the question for you. I don't know how you would remove a scent from flowers. Usually, when flowers are over cultivated, it loses its scent. So maybe a few of those varieties have begun to lose their scent.
Right.
So, but I'll ask the question.
Because it always amazes me when I see those big installations of gyp and say, do they realize the smell of it?
Yeah. And then at certain times you don't get the smell. That's what I'm often wondering. Like, is it certain variety? Like, we nearly always buy excellence in, you know, but is it certain varieties? Is it growers, or is it certain times of the year? I often wonder, like, you know what I mean? Why does it smell sometimes and other times it doesn't?
I'd imagine you'll find it's something to do with the season and where it's grown.
Yeah. Like, we recommend to spray the Febreze on it, and like, it definitely works. And I haven't. Which?
That's so interesting. Like,
so like, it's the blue bottle of Febreze, ocean fresh smell or whatever, you know, and it definitely works. Or another thing I often do is I put lavender oil into water and I spray, you know, mist the gyp with the water with the lavender oil in it, and lavender oil absorbs, like, so if somebody ever vomits and you can't get rid of the smell of vomit out of your car or off furniture, if you put lavender oil in it, it absorbs the horrible smell. So I find that with the gyp as well, is to spray it with lavender oil, but mixed in water.
Interesting.
There you go.
I think I'd be more inclined to go for the lavender oil now than the Febreze.
Another question here, not gyp related. I have a bride looking, she wants a loose dancing wild bouquet. What flowers do you suggest?
Depends on the time of year, but loose and dancing, I automatically think of ranunculuses, anemones, dahlias. That they'd be my go-to for those.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Quoting for wedding. Do you think flower prices will drop in the summertime? They're down at the moment, really, aren't they?
They are. I think I've already answered that question. They are down. They're beginning to stabilize. Hopefully that is the start of it. We would have known, I know certainly 20 years ago, I could never understand how flowers went from being so high in the winter to so low in the summer. It's a little bit different now. The seasons have kind of come together a little bit.
Yeah.
But we have more stabilization across the industry. But you know, I definitely think they are beginning to stabilize, and hopefully they will. And people can make money.
Absolutely. Actually, we're back to another gyp question, Fionnuala. If I wanted dyed flowers like gyp dyed a certain shade, can that be done?
I'm sure it can. I'm sure it can be dyed a certain shade. There's a couple of companies that do all of that dyeing and manipulation of flowers. So I'm sure they could be asked.
Be asked. Yeah.
Well, you probably
still be.
You just probably need a very large quantity of that particular.
Okay. Right. Okay. So somebody wants a jip arch in. Yeah. And actually, you know, there's so many shades now in it, you probably will be able to get it because it's very popular, the dyed jip at the moment.
Yeah.
Still, somebody is asking Fionnuala, she loves it. A lot of her customers love it, but she's very unsuccessful with it. It dries out very fast. Have you any tips on that?
Like, I have problems with Stilby.
Yeah. Remove all the foliage. Like, make sure you're cutting the stems. Like, there's not a huge amount you can do, really.
But do you find that the top of it dries out very fast?
Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to do that is to try and continue to force water up there. Like.
Yeah.
So you need the stem to open up, but the stem, if you notice, in a Stilby stem is wider at the bottom than it is at the top. So that's why the water finds it very difficult to get to the top.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe try, and I've never tried this, but maybe try spraying the top of the Stilby with a little bit of milk.
We have, and we've dumped it.
I've dumped it, yeah. You know what I mean? I've sprayed it. I've given it the quick dip. I've done the boiling water. I've literally done everything. And I haven't found one particular thing that works, you know, that way. Still just that top. And it comes in and it's perfect. And within 2 days, you kind of find the top of it is starting to dry out. Sometimes even sooner.
Leave that with me. I know a florist that uses a huge amount of the Stilby that's in it.
There's obviously a trick out there. You know, there is something.
Yeah, she uses it in a much warmer climate than here. I'll ask her.
Yeah, super. Pollen on flowers. This florist, she has a bride who has very bad hay fever. And what flowers have the least amount of pollen or none?
Oh gosh, does any flower?
Orchids have very little.
Yeah, does any flower not have any pollen?
Them new lilies, isn't it? The double lilies, haven't they pollen free? The rose lilies.
Yeah, so that's a heavily modified flower to get no pollen. There's plenty of flowers that would have less pollen, like a rose has less pollen than a lily. Like
there's a blog for you for LinkedIn now, Fionnuala.
Yeah.
Okay, I will write that one down for you.
So if you're watching this, by the time maybe if you are watching this video, go to Fionnuala's LinkedIn and you'll find out the flowers that have the least amount of pollen on them. No pressure.
But I'll try.
This is it. A dark pink rose magenta is very much on demand. Have you a variety that you recommend?
Oh, I love those Cheerios. They're absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
They're so big and I just think they're beautiful. They have to be conditioned well, though. They come from the other side of the world. So when they arrive, they need lots of care and attention.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that now. So we say our Colombian roses and that coming from far. What's your top tips for those conditioning?
I know what I used to do with them was I would trim them, obviously cut at a slant, put them in a bit of quick dip and into flower food with all of their packaging on. Right? And I would leave them there like that until the next day. And then I would remove all the packaging, all the outer petals, and let the rose, give it another cut back into flower food.
That's mentioning flower food because there's I recommend flower food all the time. We use it all the time, but there is a debate going on out there at the moment, like don't use it or it doesn't make a difference to the flower. Now I find it does make a difference to the flower, but what's your personal opinion?
Flower food should be in every flower shop and should be used in every way.
Yeah.
Flower, but you need to use the right flower food.
Okay.
It is proven that Chrysal, if it's used in the right way, will give you an extra 10 days of shelf life if you use it in the right way. Like, that's proven. It's all over their website.
Yeah.
Like, and that's it. And it's back to commercialism.
Yeah, it's complete commercialism. It's 99.9% compostable. It can go down your drain and it's not going to do any damage.
All right. Now, because a certain person I know, that was her reason for not using flower food, and she said, like, pollution. So that's good to know there now. This
industry is remarkable to me, right? You need to go and do your research as a florist on all of these products and know them and know what they do and why they do it. This is a bone of contention with me. Flower food is something that sustains our industry. Mm-hmm. It allows retail florists to retain a flower, even if it's only by an extra 2 days.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes it more sustainable. Right?
Yeah.
These companies that make, I use Chrysal because I personally know Chrysal, and that was the flower food that I personally used.
Yeah, it's the one we use mostly in the school as well.
They have pumped millions of euros into making their product more sustainable.
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Yeah.
You're not
so feed your flowers, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, that's about a marketing gimmick.
Yeah.
And these people that think it's okay to not have factual information about these products and spin a story to suit themselves.
Yeah.
Is doing nothing but damaging our industry.
Yeah. I'm delighted anyway that you've answered that question. And again, like from module 1, like all the students, I'd say, like, use flower food. When we send out the kits to the students, all their flower food sachets are part of every kit that we send out, that way. And it's put the flower food in the water. When you're sending out the bouquets, attach extra flower food for the customer to use, that way. Give it out free, charge for it, advertise on it, you know what I mean? I'm a big thing of using flower food. And I know over on one of the floristry groups at the moment, they kind of have a debate kind of going, who does and who doesn't. And like, there's a lot of people don't use it and that they're completely against it, and saying that there's no need for it and that there's no difference in the life of a flower. But we definitely noticed the difference in the longevity of the flowers.
They're proven scientific facts. They're not, it's not a debatable argument. It is proven scientific facts. Chrysal have it all over their website. They can show you those statistics. They can show you what it does to every flower across the board.
Yeah.
They will give you, when they put in the pumps into the flower shop, they give you a list of flowers that do not like flower food.
Yeah.
This is not like you're talking about a product that was brought to market to help us as florists.
Help us, absolutely. Yes, to sustain our businesses longer.
We need to work
and as happy customers.
Yeah, and we need to work as an industry, as a cohesive industry, not as splinter groups fighting against each other.
Yeah. And that is so true.
Have a product on the market, like look at Oasis is another like prime example of it. They've also spent millions of euros on trying to make that product better and bring a product to market that doesn't harm the industry. Why on earth would we talk badly about them? They're pumping millions to give us a better product.
Yeah.
Give them the opportunity to find the better product.
I have an inquiry about Christmas wedding. What rose is the best at that time of the year? I presume she must be talking about red rose. And delivery between Christmas and the New Year. We're obviously talking about Christmas 2023. And we'll have to look up what day Christmas falls on.
Monday, I think.
Monday.
Yeah.
Okay. So what way will deliveries work?
Yeah, it's to be honest, it's not a great day for it to fall on for our industry. And I don't have an answer for you, and we won't have an answer for you until probably the 1st of December. Unfortunately, that is the way Hannon works. They don't give us that information until the very last minute. I suspect the first delivery out of Holland will be the 27th. Plas will certainly be pushing for a departure on the 27th. And it's all about how much pressure we put on these people.
Right.
So again, it's a cohesive conversation that happens between how busy do you think you're going to be on the 27th? Is there any point in us having a truck there? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So,
super. So again, if anybody is watching this after Christmas 2023, or you haven't got the answer, Fionnuala's email address is there. Drop her an email and she will be able to answer that question for you. I think I have most of those questions asked now that were on my list.